Hi, I'm Jacobson-Maisels. I teach here at Drija as part of the Collegiate Immersion Program in June and the Continuing Education Program in July. And we're talking today about Parashat Devarim, the beginning of the book of Deuteronomy, the beginning of the book of Devarim. And as we know, Devarim, Deuteronomy, is in many ways a rehash, right? It goes back over what's happened so far and leads us back to the story of our journeys and travels and the movement that's about to take next, which is the real entry into the Promised Land, into Eretz Israel. And in our opening chapter, Moshe goes back and describes again once more the story of the Meraglim, the spies who enter the land of Israel. And the story is very interesting, as we know, because it says, as it says once again here, V'yachu b'yadam mi'pri ha'aretz, v'yaridu aleinu v'yashuvu otanu devar, v'yomru tova ha'aretz asher Hashem Eloheinu niten lanu. The spies say, they come back and they say, you know, this land which God gives us is really good. It's really good. It's a great land. V'lo avitim la'alot v'tamru et pi Hashem Elohechem. But they did not want to go up to the land. And they rejected the word of God. And I think this dynamic we see here is a very interesting dynamic. It's the way in which the Torah, as the Hasidic masters say, is telling a story of history, but is also telling a story of our lives. How often do we see something that's good, something we recognize has value for us, is important, is a wonderful opportunity, and yet we refuse, we back away, because we're too scared. Maybe we really want something, a relationship, a job opportunity, an opportunity in life somehow. Maybe we need to challenge somebody, maybe our partner, maybe our friend, maybe our boss. Maybe we need just a new opportunity, but it takes risks to do it. It takes leaving what we have, the security of what we know. Maybe we want to try out a new part of ourselves, something you haven't explored before. Maybe it's song or dance or writing or art or sport or a new profession. But we're nervous, we're uncertain. We feel that we're not confident in our ability to succeed. And because we're not sure we're going to succeed, we're not willing to take the risk to take the chance. And so we refuse. And in a certain sense, we refuse that voice of God inside of us. There's a voice inside which says, the promised land is waiting there before you. It's waiting to be held in your hand. It's waiting for you to take it. It's waiting for you to settle it, to dwell in it. But we're too scared. We're too scared, and so we back away. And then we're so scared, just like the Israelites, as Moshe says, "V'teiragnu bo aleichem, v'tomru b'sinat Hashem otanu hotzianu me'eretz Mitzrayim, v'teit otanu b'yad Emori lashmidenu." And you sulked in your tents and said, it's because God hates us that He brought us out of Egypt to give us into the hands of the Amorites to destroy us. Which is that we have this opportunity. We can see the goodness. We're too scared to go, and then we sulk, right? We feel sorry for ourselves, and we start to blame. We get mopey, we get caught up in ourselves, we say it isn't fair. We start to blame others. We start to see and look around and see who can we blame for this mess we're in. God must hate us, somebody hates us. Moshe does the same thing. Later on in the same paragraph he says, "V'gam bi yitanaf Hashem biglalchem lemor gam ata lo tavo sham." He says, and also, God got angry at me because of you and said, you won't go into the land. But of course, the Peshat seems much more that God gets mad at Moshe because of the way he reacts at Nei Merivah, the way he strikes the rock or speaks harshly to the people, rather than the fact of the response of the spies. And yet Moshe here too, overwhelmed with his own fear, with not getting what he wants, and so responds with blame. So it's a story that's familiar. There's something we want. We see the goodness. It's too hard for us. It's too scary for us to take the risk, to go for it. Too scary to leave what we know. For the Israelites, the wandering in the desert, the manna which comes every day, to leave what they know and enter the scariness of the responsibility and independence and creativity of being on their own in the Promised Land, of being on their own in Eretz Israel. And so instead we turn in on ourselves. And we turn out on others. We blame others. We start to feel resentful. We start to feel that we're lacking. And we don't have the capacity to genuinely deal with the situation. We start to sulk and blame and mope. But this isn't the end of the story. What Devarim tells us, and it goes on to do, is then lists for us. And then you went forward, you tried to do this, you failed, there was a whole big mess. And then you went forward, and you know what? You had this battle and you succeeded. And you had the next battle and you succeeded. And you had the battle after that and you succeeded. Devarim goes through and sort of reminds us again and again and again, you don't have to be scared. You don't have to be scared. There's a possibility of taking a risk here, of leaping out of your comfort zone, of leaping out of what you know, of stepping across the Jordan, this line between sort of what you know and where you've been and where you're coming to, and really coming into something new. Really coming into who you genuinely are and who you can be. For coming to Eretz Yisrael, as we know, for the Israelites, for ourselves, is not just a coming into something new, but it's a coming to something new which is also a coming home. It's a returning to who we genuinely are. And so often, our fear of dancing wildly, our fear of going for that opportunity which really feels like it connects to who you are, to our soul. That it's that job and that place, or that place I want to live, or that person or partner or that relationship, which is really going to help me be who I am, that step which feels scary is also a step which brings us back and lets us know who we truly are. It's what happens often when things are scariest, because the stakes are highest. The stakes are becoming who I am and who I really want to be. And that's the part of Eretz Yisrael. It's this homecoming, which is also this tremendous risk-taking. And so the Parsha ends, Lo tira'u, don't be afraid. Ki Hashem Elokeichem hu hanilachem lechem. For the Lord your God, He will fight for you. He will be fighting with you. He will take on this challenge. And so the Parsha lets us know that, of course, we have doubt. Of course, there's fear. Of course, there's uncertainty. And those before us and those after us and us ourselves will continue to fall and stumble in the face of that doubt and fear. And yet there's always the possibility to stop for a moment and tell ourselves, don't be afraid. For there's something deep inside of us. There's the presence of the divine, which is going to help us take the next step forward, which is going to help us see the ways in which we need to take risks, which are actually going to allow us to come home to who we truly are, to find ourselves, our Eretz Yisrael, our promised land, our path in life, our partners in life, our place in life, and therefore find that goodness, the goodness of the land, which the spies speak about at the beginning. Shabbat Shalom.